All right. Good evening. Good evening, smart CEOs. We're going to give everyone a chance to jump in tonight. It's Thursday night in the smart CEO world. You know what that means. So we'll let you guys get in here and get in the group. Jump in tonight. It's Thursday night in the smart CEO world. You know what. There you go. And so as you'll have to mute it. Yeah. It's Thursday night. No problem. I'm gonna do the same thing.
Hold on.
Hey guys. Turn the volume all the way down.
All right. There
you go. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna jump in and do the same thing. We got folks jumping in.
That's what's up.
And we will let them get in here. All right. Hi, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Get in here and get in here and get in here. And let's get this insight tonight. I don't know. Can't wait to introduce you guys to my guests, but I feel like we're in like week, 50 of quarantine? I don't know what week this is.
Who knows, right?
I have no clue, but we are going to. Hey, Frida, I see you're on. How are you, darling? Chef Yolanda, see you on with us tonight. Good stuff. Good stuff. So as folks are jumping in, I'm also going to I'm gonna travel over and let me see if I can create a watch party.
You told me how to do it and I did it already.
Oh, you already did it? You're awesome.
I did it already.
Let me see. I might have too many controls over here. How's everybody doing tonight? Type in the comments. Say I'm good, I'm okay, I'm loving it, I'm giving myself a break. Couldn't wait for Smart CEO Thursday. Like, let us know what's going on. Drop your feed in the comments. Drop your comments in. And we are going to get started. All right. One of the things I love about Smart CEO and being in the Smart CEO world, quite frankly, is that thanks so much. I see your notes. All right. Frida says she's doing well. Chef Yolanda says, good evening. That is the hardest working chef in Houston. Frida out of Atlanta, she's doing well. Hello to your guest for me. You're going to get to say it yourself, Frida, and we are going to all get into this thing tonight. So I want to introduce you all to a friend of mine who I've had the pleasure of connecting with on the nonprofit side first. We did an amazing call for speakers about 2 years ago. Hey, Alana Jackson. Oh, you just made my day. Hi, Alana. About 2 years ago, and for our nonprofit, for our conference. And all of a sudden, we had this massive influx. I don't know if you remember this, Grayson, of men that said yes from all over the U.S.
Yep.
From all over the U.S. It was so incredible, so overwhelming, and so exciting that I was just like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but whatever it is, we are here for the ride. And Grayson was one of the ones that said yes to us. And not only did he say yes on the nonprofit side, Imagine Excellence, that's the nonprofit, but Grayson said yes. Grayson flew in on his own dime. He donated his time. He donated his weekend to us. We might have fed you 1 or 2 good times, Grayson, and made sure you had ample transportation back and forth to the airport. But Grayson Marshall, you showed up for our conference and you showed up in a big way. And I am excited because not only that, we've transcended our relationship on the profit side. And so now there's an opportunity for us to share in the smart CEO world. And I'm looking forward to even more business opportunities that may come out of this too. So why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Let the smart CEO know who you are. You're amongst them, but they want to know who you are. So tell us who you are.
I'm Grayson Marshall Jr. I'm called the Metacognition Maven, the guy that gets you to believe in you. I live in Jacksonville, Florida, born and raised in Washington, D.C. The son of educators. My mother was a principal. My dad was a teacher. My sister's the head of online education for the Department of Defense. So I came from a family of educators knowledgeable people, articulate was a mandatory part of my life. I went to Clemson. I played basketball. I graduated the all-time ACC career assist leader, inducted to the Hall of Fame 2009. 2016, I was named an ACC basketball legend. I was homeless at 29 and created multi-businesses that took me well into the 6 and 7 figures between then and the time I was in my early 40s.
Wow. So you just listed off at least 7 major accomplishments, one major life transitional moment, and then the rebound effect. So I'm calling you the coach's coach in some instances because you have such a mighty background. Like, it is so full and robust. Talk to us a little bit. Tonight we're talking about transparency. And one of the things I've said is that is the one thing that we need the most of right now.
True.
As we're all hyper exposed right now, right? We're exposed, right? All of our gaps are being seen. And depending on your ability to really manage your world, you're dealing with that. You're dealing with that in so many different ways. And so transparency right now is huge. And so, Grayson, I just want to walk back just at least to, the Hall of Fame space that you occupy. Tell us about those triumphant moments and give us an understanding, like build a bridge from the triumphant moment to the moment where you hit a low. And what was that leap like? What was that fall like? What happened?
Well, I think when you have success in an arena that you're comfortable in, you're confident in, which I was in sports, all you do is compete and excel. And that was always the case. The challenge I had was I never had any aspirations to play past college. My whole purpose for getting into college playing basketball was to get my degree because I came from a family of educators. However, underneath it all, I had an inkling to be a small business owner, entrepreneur. So my whole quest was to get into that business as soon as I could. The challenge I had was not having someone to teach me. I didn't come from a circle of people that were doing that. So the challenges were entering into a world that played by a different set of rules than they taught me in school. A lot of the things that I've had to learn in the business world were never taught to me in school. School taught me how to be an employee. So transitioning out, I had to really take a different approach to what was there. And so because I didn't have individuals to talk to, a lot of books, a lot of research, a lot of study went into it. A lot of failure went into it. And that was a part of success. I had to learn through trial and error, which is why I coach the way that I do now, because that was the only way I could learn. We're the only society in the world that pays successfully, that pays a lot for failure. So I had to learn that was the road to progressive success. Sports gave me a background for that because I was in an arena where failure is a part of that process. The transition in challenges is I can no longer use that skill set. When I work with athletes transitioning out of their sports, what they have to come to the realization and transparency in the fact that their 4.4 speed, nobody cares about it when they're going to the boardroom. The fact that they bench press 225 30 times means nothing. So that's what they held their hat on. This is what designated them. It's what separated them. It's what made them unique. And now they're no longer unique. However, their skill set is applicable. So what I take the time to do is show them how that skill set transfers successfully. What they tend to do is go from a place of confidence to a place of fear. It's an element of life that they've never had experience before. Athletes playing sports, if they're fearful, they can't succeed. So anyone that gets to the successful level, fear was never a factor. Now, all of a sudden, it is the main way they're thinking. So there's a huge
right there. No, that's huge. You were saying it right there. It's the paradigm shift, right? It's that, man. And so when you are used to winning, when you're used to being on your home court, so to speak, and you know the drill, when it's time for you to shift, the competitor in you, even though that competitor in you is like a beast on, in the sports space, when you dip your toe into a water in some way that is foreign to you, you're no longer the smartest one, the strongest one, the most capable one in the room. There is something that happens. And another place that happens is when a lot of entrepreneurs, or I should say aspiring entrepreneurs, leap out of corporate America into entrepreneurship. Two very different worlds.
Kyra, let me get you right there, because that word is what causes people problems. Here's the reality. If you look at the definition of entrepreneur, it's somebody that takes a very, very serious risk.
Yeah.
Most people are small business owners. There's a unique difference. And if you look at the cash flow quadrant, the way Robert Kiyosaki put it, you have employees, small business, and in your small business, you've got your doctors, your lawyers, your small business owners. Then you have big business and you have investors. If you look at Ecclesiastes 11:2, the Bible clearly says that we should invest in 7 to 8 streams of income because we never know when something will hit the land. Entrepreneurs are those people. Unless you have multiple streams of income, you are not an entrepreneur. You're a small business owner. There's a different mindset.
So we're approaching this kind of in this big basket mentality. We're saying it all fits, right? So everything entrepreneur. If I own my own, then I'm an entrepreneur. But what you're saying is not necessarily. You're running a small business. That's where we get that mom and pop thing from, right?
Correct. Because the entrepreneur's mindset is bigger. Here's at the end of the day, it's multiple streams of income that make you an entrepreneur. Look at the wealthy people. They don't have their hands in one thing. True entrepreneurs are leveraged. They make sure that they've got that. So I don't knock the mindset, but I think that word changes the mentality of people, because if somebody starts a small business online, they think they're an entrepreneur. You're a small business owner. An entrepreneur has a different mindset. They're willing to take risks. In the world of community-based marketing nowadays, you can start a business for under $400. Well, that's not a risk. A risk is starting a business for $200,000-$300,000, $1 million. That's when you get to the entrepreneur level. You can build a small business into an entrepreneurial entity, but at the end of the day, it's a different mindset. Entrepreneurs are willing to lose. Small business owners are afraid to lose. It's a different mentality. That's not everyone, but that becomes the essence of who they are. They start this business, and the anxiety comes because they put all their eggs in this basket. That's not how entrepreneurs think.
I'm going to pause you right there. So one of the things, I feel like we're just going to have this conversation. I see the comments, you guys. Keith, I see it. Keith is going bananas in this feed right now. I see it. And I think one of the things that had happened, especially when I was in corporate America, and I'm going to share this, and this is that dynamic space. I remember being pulled aside by my director, and they were like, what is it with you? Like, it's something with you. They kept getting complaints, but I was doing great. They kept getting, she's ruffling feathers, but she's doing great. And there was this dynamic they couldn't really process. So my directors and my VPs loved it, but my peers and my team members loved it, but my teammates, my peers, they were struggling. I remember getting called in, and literally we were in the middle of Gallup assessments. If you're familiar with personality or behavioral assessments, Gallup is an assessment of kind of your strengths, right? And so they did this assessment, and when they got my assessment back, they were like, come in this office now. Like, we need to talk, because they were trying to figure out why cross-departmentally there were so many unique challenges with the way I was doing business. I was taking risks inside of a major corporation, and they were like, who gave her permission to do this? And they told me, they were having this aha moment, these directors, and I'll never forget it. Her name is Sharon, and she sat me down and she said, we figured it out. And I said, well, you figured what out? I didn't know there was, and she said, you're an entrepreneur. She said, you have an entrepreneurial approach to business or to work. And I said, well, what does that mean? I'm going to own my own business. Well, at that time, I had my nonprofit already, but that still didn't make me an entrepreneur. Mindset, risk, challenge, innovation, the ability to build relationships, optimizing relationships, using capital in exponential ways that allow people to reduce and create, reduce waste, create other opportunities.
Correct.
I thought like that. I didn't know. So Grayson, you nailed it. I think even early on, those signs are there. When you think about people that are willing to become more risky in business, you do have that, because they'll step out on that ledge, like you said. And I want to go back to the pivot point where you talked about, kind of being at that pinnacle in your area of excellence in athletics. And then that moment where let's talk about the moment where, you realize that you're taking a risk that had taken you to a lull. Like, what was that? And how did you get there? And then we, of course, want to talk about the resilient path back. But I want to go there because I think this is going to help people understand entrepreneurship. I want to stay in there for a minute. Entrepreneurship versus business ownership and mindset. Like that dynamic. I want you to break that down for us.
As an entrepreneur, I want to take something and build it into something greater. As a small business owner, I want to establish my niche and own that niche. I want to take what I have and how do I leverage that? How do I build off of it? How do I create multiple streams of income? When I look at the Tyler Perrys of the world, when I look at how they went from here and now you got airlines, there's so many things that they built one thing off of, but the vision was so much bigger. So you have to have the vision for multiple ways to impact. Now, here's the key. The impact cannot be your face in everything. Remember this, the multiple streams come from the service you're going to provide. When you begin to build, you're beginning to build avenues for other people. Entrepreneurs become owners. Here's the unique part about it. When I look at owners of professional sports teams, they're entrepreneurs. Most people have no idea who the owners are unless they become personalities that want to be in front of the camera, i.e. Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft. Most people have no idea who owns professional sports teams. They have no idea because the sports team is just one of their verticals.
Right.
In Jacksonville, Shad Khan created his money by creating bumpers for Toyota cars. Then he goes in and buys a football team, then a soccer team. Again, there's a bigger play here when you're an entrepreneur. The whole key to it is about how you can leverage the efforts of other people, put them in positions to be successful to their capacity, and you create a dividend off of that pays you forever. That's an entrepreneur.
What do you say to people? You're about, I think you're about to get it. Go. Most people.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was like right there. Most people struggle with the thought of leveraging others because it comes from this probably subconscious thought process of using or demonstrating need. Either way you look at it, it could potentially be a negative. And so I think that one of the greatest assets we can acquire now is the ability to be collaborative, for one. And number two, to understand your full map and path. Meaning, what's your actual vision? So when crisis comes, you're not shifting just to respond to what's the shiny object in the moment. As an entrepreneur, one of the things I was asked last week, I was laying in bed early morning, I'm getting these messages in my inbox, and I had a client asking me some questions, and I was literally looking at, and I'm visual, so I keep my vision in front of me constantly. Right. And so I was looking at my vision, and it's dated 1/7/17. So January 7th, 2017. It hasn't changed in terms of the pathway. The way, obviously, we pivot for. But she was asking me a question, and I said, you know what? I'm going to tell you the secret. The secret to success and continuous movement and activity is to understand the actual intent for your business or your enterprise. So on this map, I literally have two different tracks, one for the nonprofit world, one for the for-profit, and then they have their various streams coming out of them. So it looks like an org chart. But if you look at it, and I do this to see if I'm on track, I'm literally walking inside of each one of those veins, and they all have revenue generating, producing streams. So I have multiple revenue streams inside of one entity, right? And that is how you continue to create that value and leverage your skill set and leverage others. So when people think about using others, so to speak, which is called leverage, it's not using, it's understanding the value of exchange there. It may hit up against what may seem like a value that they are challenged by, which is, how do I raise my hand and say I need help? How do I help? How do I ask someone if I can join them in this venture? Will they join me in this venture? How do I create more capacity? Because I don't really know. And the reason why we typically have challenges, because we don't really know what we're trying to build capacity for, because we don't have a full plan. But understand that. So my question to you, or the conversation I want to have with you around that is, as we're looking at becoming more open and more vulnerable in this business space from a transparent perspective, what are some things that entrepreneurs or business owners can do to even transition and pivot from business owner to entrepreneur mindset now? Because that is something that I know you're strong in, and like helping us understand how to shift our mindset around it.
You can't pivot if you're paralyzed. And I think what happens is fear creates paralysis. True entrepreneurs have no fear. Yeah. So when there's no fear, I'm totally operating in faith. What I've done for myself is I've created my own personal why statement, and most people don't have one. They have an objective and agenda, but my personal why statement allows me to line up with what I do well. Well, what I do well is in place and position. My value is never going to be deflated. So my goal is to attract the folks that can make this thing go for them. If you take you out of the place and put the capacity on the bigger picture of people you're serving, you'll let other people be who they need to be. Yeah. I'll let you be the star of the show because it's not my show. It's what we're doing with this entity that we've created. How many people are we helping? So my personal why is to challenge the mindset and belief systems of the status quo so that they can think differently, act intentionally, and grow successfully. Everything that I do has to line up with that. So it allows me to really sift and decide what I want to do. If it doesn't allow me to challenge belief systems or the mindsets of the status quo, then I'm not in it. If something I'm doing doesn't allow me to do it, so everything that I take on as a value-added proposition to my life has to involve that. So when I deal with health and wellness, when I deal with sports, when I deal with business, can I challenge the way you think? Can I challenge your belief system? With all that's going on right now with Corona, that's the one thing that's being challenged. What do you really believe in? Because the hypocrisy that exists from folks that appear to have faith or say they have faith, and then the fear that they act behind, I'm telling you, it startles me at times. The same media that they will say is not giving the true statement when there's something of a racial issue, all of a sudden now the media is the end-all be-all gospel, and everything said in the media is true. So again, we shift paradoxically because we tend not to believe in what's there because we're group thinking, not you thinking. So we tend to do that in business and entrepreneurism. An entrepreneur not moved by the situation. Right now, the entrepreneur is positioning himself to make money during this time. The small business owner is trying to recoup and not lose the business. True entrepreneurs are seeing where the verticals are of opportunity right now, and they're in those verticals. Or they're making moves to be in those verticals. That's what I'm talking about. The difference is, and I think what we've done is we've muddied the waters with the title and the expression that comes with entrepreneur, meaning separate entity, but it's a mindset. It's a completely different thing. If you're a true entrepreneur, what are you doing right now to make money in light of this? Going back to the depression, folks that got rich got into the real estate business back then. Yeah. Whether they knew about real estate or not, they got in that business. That was the time to get in it. What shifts are you making right now during this time to create revenue streams? Because here's the deal. Somebody's making money right now. So true entrepreneurs saw this happening and said, where can we get involved so that we don't stop? Entrepreneurs never stop making money. They shift because they're not paralyzed. Fear brings about paralysis. And when I get fearful, I get frozen. When I overanalyze, I tend to not move. So what I talk to people about is having your eyes open to the next thing. The vision has got to be bigger, and constant successfully creating revenue and opportunity needs to be your agenda every day. And because it doesn't have to solely depend on you, who do you know that thinks like you?
Yes. So, stay right there for a second. Mm-hmm. I think I have a little delay, but stay right there for a second. Who do you know that thinks like you? That is huge. And I think when we're thinking about these lanes that we're creating, let's take the intensity off and the anxiety off, and let's go back to our 5-year plan. Let's go back to our 10-year plan and say, what did we say we wanted to do? And if we've not done either of those things, that's the first thing we need to go back and do, because you don't have a point or a reference. You don't have the why that establishes the next step in your vision for you. And so that is the part that really does trip a lot of people up. And because a lot of small businesses are started out of necessity, right? A lot of things that happen, women go into business out of necessity, men go into business out of necessity.
Exactly.
The strategy associated with the business is the second or third or fourth or fifth or last thing we're thinking about. And I know for many of the businesses I work with, even for me, when I started, the most important thing for me was to at least have a clean line of sight on what I wanted to deliver. Once I understand delivery, what the end goal was, then I could start to identify the how. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that I knew the how, I just knew I wanted to provide this service or solution. The how became a secondary thing for me, which then meant I needed to create strategy to apply to it.
Right.
So what I wanted to kind of slow us down and say is I didn't know who I needed either. Right. And you made an incredible point in all transparency, asking for or reaching out or connecting with others when you don't have a clear vision is tough.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know who to ask for, and so or who to look for. So let's talk about how you have identified the kind of key players that you keep around you, to make sure that you're thinking as big and stretching as wide as you can.
I think one of the things that my conversations with anybody are open and vulnerable. So no matter who I'm meeting, I'm okay with talking about what I'm doing. I'm not afraid of them taking my idea. So here's what tends to happen. The more you're talking about the bigger picture that you have, the more you run into people who understand that you're that type of person. So in looking, so for right now, this PPE, personal protection equipment, I had no entry into that place, none whatsoever. However, I know folks in the medical field. They know that I'm leveraged in great relationships. So they have PPE. They called me up, Grayson, do you know anybody here? Do you know anybody here? Do you know anybody here? Yes, I do. Do you know anybody in the mayor's office? Do you know? Yes, I do. Well, I have this. So now, because I've always been open about relationships, not worried about you taking them, not worried about you going there, I'm now a conduit for what you have. I'm now creating revenue in a vertical I never thought I would be in, but I'm open to it. Why? Because I can pivot right now. This isn't working the way it should. PPE is. People need masks. They need ventilators. They need gloves. They need all these things that I would have never on my own gone to do. But because of relationships that I created and me being transparent, always open, always helping, never stingy, they don't mind sharing revenue with me because they understand that is the genesis of how we started. There was never anything but open dialogue and open discussion. So I think when you have that with people and you're not worried about them taking your idea. I remember Brendan Bouchard said this one time. He said, whenever he decides to do something new, he tells as many people as he can. I tell as many people as I can because now I got people watching what I do. So it keeps me focused on what I said I was going to do. Most of us fall by this.
Come on. Wait, say that again. Say it again. Say that again. That was big. Accountability.
What most people don't do is tell everybody what they're about to do, because if it fails, they don't want anybody to know. Yeah. But to me, telling people holds me accountable and committed to doing what I do. Most people live by this meme. Don't tell anybody your next move. Well, that's because you don't want to be transparent about your failure, because the true essence of the process is in how much you're willing to fail. Not that you're attempting to, how much you're willing to.
Yeah.
And so if you really want to be vulnerable and transparent, that's what people need to hear. We want to shout about our successes. People need to know the failures, because here's the reality. Failure is what pays. The best baseball players in the world get out 7 out of 10 times. They get out twice as many times as they get hits. The best basketball players miss more shots than they take. When you look at it, you make more misses than you have successes, but it's the misses that pay you. It's the fact that you're willing to miss.
Yep.
People will trust you. The fact that you're willing to take the shot, that people believe in you. So now you have more people that are willing to get into your next venture because of the ones you failed in, because they know that the resilience that you have is only going to at some point produce success. And they don't want to miss when that happens. That's the relationship that you have to have as a successful individual.
That is huge. And I'm going to say this, Grayson, we're about to wrap up, but I think we started a little bit of a fire. So I'm excited about that, because we can keep this conversation going in the Smart CEO group. I'm all about disruption, and I'm all about kicking up the dirt. Like, we are going to make sure that no one has an excuse to stay in a space of status quo. And that doesn't mean you have to go create something new. It doesn't mean you have to go find the next big thing. It means you need to do what you're doing right now incredibly well and pivot appropriately to be on both sides of the market, the digital side and the face-to-face or forward-facing side.
Correct.
Find those digital pivots for your business. I'm going to listen, I know it's our time, so I'm being mindful of that. I'm going to say this, Grayson, the real GM, metacognition. Tell us what that means, and tell us how we can find you, not only in the group, but on your website.
Metacognition, by definition, means the understanding and awareness of how you think. So my whole thing, again, it is the challenge. So I'm glad there's some disruption in there, because I want to challenge the way people think. I don't want people to always agree, but I want them to take what I'm saying and rate it on their own. Here's what I know. If I can change your thoughts, I can change your beliefs. If I can change your beliefs, I can change your level of anticipation. If I can change your level of anticipation, I can change your attitude. If I can change your attitude, I can change your behavior. If I can change your behavior, I can change your performance. If I can change your performance, I can change your life. But it all starts with the way you think. My favorite book says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So metacognition is my thing. I want people to think. I want them to get real clear on what it is. I want to challenge that. Yeah. I want to, again, challenge the mindset and belief systems of the status quo so that they can think differently, act intentionally, and grow successfully. The fact that there is some challenge in there lets me know that I do what I do and I do well, because it's to get you to think. And that's all it's about. I didn't say get you to agree. I said get you to think. And if I can get you to think more directly, more intentionally about what you want, then I've done my job, because now you have used that to fuel what it is that maybe wasn't driving you. Yep. My job isn't, no coach's job is to get you to perform for them. It's to get you to perform for you. True leaders interfere in the lives of other people to get them where they say they want to go. Get mad at me and go do it. Job is done.
Done.
That's the part about it. It's not about debate. It's about truly getting you to think a little differently, have successful, intelligent dialogue about changes, because I know what works. That may not work for you, but let me tell you something. Thinking differently will work for everybody.
Yes.
And when you can bring people to a new level of understanding, the Bible says wisdom and knowledge is good, but when getting all, get understanding. That now I got some understanding. I can't get understanding with only one perspective. And if I only have that, the Bible says a man left to himself will bring his mama to shame. He who counsels with himself is unwise. We tend to do that because we're leaders. That's why you have to continue to grow that circle, be challenged by some other people, totally get a different perspective, because if it is different, it reinforces yours. You want to walk in a different level of faith about what you believe in. And that's the whole key to training, coaching, and teaching folks. Have I got you intentionally believing in what you believe so that you can go do it unshakably in the faith realm that you need to do? Because we need you to be you.
Absolutely. Like, I'll pin it right there. I'm going to pin it right there, Smart CEOs. And I'm going to tell you, just to slather a very light glaze on top of what Grayson just said to us, is as you walk away from this live, as you put your phone down, as you disconnect and you start thinking, what is it that I need to think differently? What is it that I need to do or think about? What do I need to challenge myself with? I think there's nothing like coming into a space where you get a transformational dialogue that you literally are now accountable to. Once you know, you can't unknow this. You can't unknow it. And exactly. I think I want you to understand that the ability to influence is one of the most authoritative and the highest ranking position you can have. If you can provide or influence someone, as Grayson said, someone's thinking, you have the ability literally to change the world. Right. And you need to understand the power of influence and influential thinking and influential strategic movement. And that is huge. So tonight we've had an opportunity to be with Grayson Marshall. I'm so excited you said yes. And you've been a part of our Thursday Night Live with our Smart CEOs. A fantastic evening. You'll see this video again. It'll stay in the group. You guys can go back to it if you catch the replay, #replay when you watch, so that we'll know. We will also be watching and interacting with you in the comments. You may catch us in there tomorrow, tonight, whenever, but we're going to be responding. So if you have questions, if you have direct questions for us, go ahead and you can send us direct messages. I know I answer my messages. If you want to know how to get in touch with Grayson, he'll drop his information there.
Yeah, GraysonMarshallJr.com. And I can be found there all day long. I'm on Facebook as well, but GraysonMarshallJr.com. And I was thoroughly honored to be here. I love what you do. You know, I appreciate your talent, your skill set. I love being around other people that want to grow. And Smart CEOs is a great place for people to exchange ideas. And again, you mentioned the word influence. Yeah. And influence doesn't mean agreement. Influence means moving you closer to what it is you said you want to do. And that's all I want to do. It's not about anything else. It's about influencing you to be more committed to and resilient and resounding in what you totally believe in. And that's what it's about.
That's big. That's huge. And we're going to leave it right there with that, you guys. Tonight has been phenomenal. Grayson, your yes means everything. Thank you for showing up for the Smart CEOs. And Smart CEOs, it's time for you to show up for yourself. For those of you guys that received a DM from me on your Facebook, in your Facebook Messenger, it was because you said, yes, I'm in, and you've been invited to a private mastermind that I am going to be hosting next week. And you have an invitation, a calendar invite, and a link. And I can't wait to connect with you. So if you did not say it's me, we've already scheduled it. Get in on the next one. But we were feeling generous. And so it's done. It's done. All right, guys. Have a great night. Grayson, are you laughing at me or the comments?
I'm laughing at the comments. I'm laughing at the comments. I am. I'm laughing at the comments.
Yeah, you're going to have to go out there and chat a little bit.
I
So
am. I'm gonna do it.
good night, everybody. Thank you so much, Smart CEOs. Have an amazing night. And let's take it in. This is Thursday night. It's not time to stop. It's time to keep going. Tomorrow, we're kicking it in and bringing home a win. So we're going to close the week out strong. All right, guys.
Thanks,
Good night.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.